This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Good morning and thank you for waking up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Galen Etlin. The time now is 6 o'clock and let's take a live look outside over Portland from our Wells Fargo Skycam. Look at that beautiful sunrise over the city. A few clouds out there. We are sitting in the mid-50s right now and we are set to get quite a bit warmer later on. Let's move along now to the Stoller Family Vineyards with that silhouette of the mountain out there as the sun rises. Just spectacular. Let's check in now with Matt Zafino for a quick look at your forecast.
Hey everybody, welcome to a Saturday. We're going to have some really hot weather this weekend, but not today. Today looks great. Unlike yesterday, and the clouds took basically all day to burn off. We're going to have a mainly clear day, a couple of scattered clouds out there early in the morning. By noontime, we're 74. By 5 o'clock, we'll reach our high of 83 degrees. So it really is a comfortable day for us. Enjoy it because it gets hot tomorrow, so much so that we are under a heat advisory from Sunday morning until Monday night. All of the Willamette Valley and Southwest Washington and Southwest Oregon under that heat advisory for, again, Sunday and into Monday. Here's why. It's the hottest weather of the year. Begins tomorrow. It'll be in the upper 90s tomorrow, around 100 degrees on Monday. And we'll begin to cool off as we go into the middle part of the week. But again, this is going to be our hottest weather in at least a year and maybe two.
All right, very good to know. We'll see you in a few minutes, Matt. Now, new this morning, more protests and more tear gas overnight in downtown Portland. This time, there was also a stabbing. This was one of the biggest crowds that we've seen over the past few weeks. Federal officers again fired tear gas at the crowd after demonstrators shot off fireworks at the courthouse. Eventually, the crowd started to break up. And as that was happening, Portland police responded to a stabbing call at Southwest 3rd and Salmon. Detectives have a suspect in custody this morning. The victim was taken to the hospital, but we do not have an update on that person's condition. Now, these protests have made national headlines, and the last 2 months have not been easy for people who live near the federal courthouse. Our Mike Benner reports on some of those sleepless nights.
It's a great place. I mean, it's in the heart of the city.
Gabriel Johnson has lived in the Essex House apartments in downtown Portland for 7 years. Suddenly, though, it's not so great.
I compare it to a war zone. And I think that some people might take that and say, okay, he must be exaggerating, but no.
Johnson says he's kept awake at night by the nightly demonstrations just 2 blocks from his home. The sounds of fireworks and flashbangs, he says, are overwhelming. So, too, is the tear gas.
We can expect every night to either wake up choking or whatnot, just because the tear gas is coming in.
Johnson, a veteran, tells us he reached a breaking point last weekend. He grabbed an American flag and walked down to the protest to talk with people. He says he was called every racial slur in the book.
It's hurtful. It's sad. It's saddening. What's going on?
Johnson isn't the only one frustrated by what's going on downtown. Not by a long shot. KGW has received a number of calls from downtown residents who are fed up. One woman lives within 3 blocks of the federal courthouse and justice center. She's afraid of retaliation and spoke to us by phone.
The residents who live in downtown have been completely ignored. No one has bothered to address us or contact us in any way regarding any actions being taken to quell the violence.
This woman says she actually marched in some of the peaceful demonstrations in the days following George Floyd's death. She supports racial justice, but adds the violence late at night is unacceptable.
My fear is that it will end in bloodshed, that someone, or maybe more than one person, will be killed. And that's very sad. That's very frightening, too.
She says someone needs to do something to end this, and fast. Gabriel Johnson agrees.
Let's not even blame anyone. Right now, we need solid leaders to be in control and to lead us out of this situation.
That was Mike Benner reporting. Meanwhile, a judge has denied the request for a temporary restraining order against federal agents in Portland. That order would have kept agents from making arrests without cause at protests. The Oregon Attorney General had argued that those federal officers use unlawful tactics. An allegation says agents have unmarked vans to arrest protesters without probable cause. But in his ruling, the judge said the state lacked standing to sue on behalf of protesters. Now, the U.S. Attorney for Oregon, Billy Williams, is not a fan of these protests. He calls them mindless violence. On Friday, he lashed out at city leaders for not taking control. Local, state, and congressional leaders have strongly, though, opposed federal agents being sent to Portland earlier this month by President Trump.
this. Look around. I mean, do you think it's okay? Is there any justification for this? I hope not. I mean, Portland is losing its soul right now.
I wish that Donald Trump was attacking the coronavirus half as hard as he is attacking our city.
Now, during the protest Friday morning, after most of the crowd had left, a group tried to break through the courthouse fence. Federal officers later tear gassed the crowd and at one point took position on a city street, at least a block away from the courthouse.
They're not out on the streets, okay?
They were last night. They were out on the streets. There's video of them outside of the fence.
Okay,
In previous
so-
nights, we've seen them out on the streets.
Okay, so we can review what took them out there.
A pair of federal watchdogs have launched investigations into the authority and conduct of federal officers. The time now is 6:06 and we've got an update here. Oregon just reported its highest number of deaths since the COVID pandemic started. 9 more people have died. Now, the state also reported nearly 400 new cases. Now, the blue lines you see here on this graph show the daily cases, and the dark blue dots are a 14-day average. You can see both are trending up. Now, the Oregon Health Authority says 20 to 29-year-olds now make up the largest percentage of cases since the pandemic started. It says social gatherings added to the spike. In the best case scenario, there could be about 600 new COVID-19 cases every day over the next month. Worst case scenario, we could see 2,300 new cases a day. Health experts say the state is on a troubling path, and so they encourage Oregonians to keep gatherings small, stay outside, and 6 feet away from each other. Plus, wear your mask and frequently wash hands.
Too soon to say we're getting a handle on COVID-19's latest surge in Oregon. It takes a few weeks for the impact of Governor Brown's recent mask requirements and other orders to show up in the data. That means the coming weeks are pivotal. They will determine what school looks like for students and educators and how we sustain reopening Oregon.
Right now, hospitals can handle the surge in cases, but testing is a problem. The director of Oregon's Health Authority says we're starting to see a nationwide shortage of supplies and collection kits, which impacts Oregon's testing too. Now, we're also learning more about what fighting COVID-19 is like for people. A new report from the CDC found even mild cases can have lingering symptoms. At least a third of patients recovering at home experienced symptoms up to 3 weeks after diagnosis. So that includes fatigue, persistent cough, ongoing headaches. Most people surveyed for that report were considered healthy young adults. Now, new restrictions are in effect in Oregon to try slowing down the spread of coronavirus. The state rules requiring masks in public now apply to kids as young as 5 years old. In addition to wearing a mask indoors in public spaces, you now have to wear one outside too if you cannot physically distance. You also must wear a mask while working out at the gym. All bars and restaurants in the state have to close by 10 p.m. and capacity at indoor venues is limited to a maximum of 100 people. Trimet has plans to relax social distancing measures starting tomorrow. More people will be allowed to ride on buses and trains at the same time. Now, since April, Trimet has limited the number of passengers on buses and trains to reflect 6 feet of social distance. Starting Sunday, though, passengers will be separated by no less than 3 feet. Drivers will still require 6 feet of distance, and everyone on board has to wear a mask. Trimet says the changes meet recommendations issued by Governor Brown and the Oregon Health Authority. It also hired 130 people to help clean buses and trains throughout the day and sanitize them every night, too.
So this isn't a decision that Trimet is making arbitrarily. We've been working closely with health officials since the very beginning of this pandemic.
Many drivers, though, are unhappy about this change. The transit union president says this is the wrong time to increase rider capacity. She wants Trimet to keep requiring 6 feet between passengers.
It's not like the count is going down, it's continuing to rise. And that's my greatest fear, that it's continuing to rise and Trimet is muffling more people together.
Drivers say things are already hard enough for them, dealing with riders who refuse to wear masks on board. Well, during this pandemic, we all need things to look forward to, right? And burger fans may have a reason. In-N-Out could be one step closer to the metro area, where the company's looking to expand and the big traffic impact it could have.